is the disintegration of the Zionist state is commencing because the most important voice in all of the Christian Zionist movement came from Charlie Kirk and his organization. He was the glue that kept it all together. Now, the billionaire Zio class funded his operation and made him a machine, but the second he decided that he was going to question that machine and just whether or not it made sense to continue funding that operation, well, we all know that he was ultimately willing to put himself in harm's way, as indicated by the conversations that he had with Candace Owens, that yes, he may be on the chopping block. We hadn't seen a public execution like that of a noted figure in quite some time. But that was a message that was being sent. And all the while, there are people that are still trying to sell this notion that there is something more to it when it comes to Tyler Robinson. What involvement did he have? Was he actually somebody who did the deed? Was he involved in some way, shape, or form? I think he's a patsy. I think he could easily have had something to do with it. I'm not going to be the person to tell you that, oh, they just picked some person at random and he had nothing to do with it. No, I think that there are, in all of these cases, many layers, like the CIA Training Center that is out there that apparently a lot of Mormons get involved with, which I found very interesting. But make no mistake, the fact that they are trying to sweep this under the rug, just like the Epstein files, there is a reason that no one wants to talk about this. They don't want to talk about it because it's not good for business. We talked about Zoran needing security to protect himself. Candace Owens is another person who needs it. Here's what she had to say about the latest revelation regarding what happened to Charlie at Utah Valley State on September 10th.
Most of news for you that I can now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, confirm. Putting my name on this. Not only can I confirm this, but I can publicly challenge the very Zionist occupied Trump administration, who is aware of this, to deny it, to come out and say, no, that's not true. There were, for whatever reason, 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground at Utah Valley University the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated.
What the hell were they doing there? And what the hell were they doing at Utah Valley State University? That's a good reference. I like it, Patrick. I like it. Might as well be. You know, they say that Tucker is intelligence, and he probably is. Is Candace intelligence? I don't know, but I'm sure she has connections to intelligence, and that's how she gets this information. That, without question, I believe is real. And considering how large her audience gets on a daily basis, in fact, I think recently she's had the largest or the most watched podcast in the country. I guess it was over a specific period of time, but she's done a hell of a job. And I give her a lot of credit because she bet on herself and she won. There are a lot of people like Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh who are not willing to leave the Daily Wire because they don't believe in themselves, because they know what they have been given is a platform by Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring. And that's why they are where they are. Candace was willing to take that risk, and it paid off. And she did it in the face of not supporting the genocide in Gaza. So even if I agree or disagree with her on a number of key issues, of which I do, respect for saying what needs to be said, especially on this.
This has completely spooked the people that are very high up in government. Now, to be clear, I don't mean that there were 12 VPNs that were switched and routed through Israel on that day. I mean that there were 12 personal cell phone accounts that were opened in Israel, and they were on the ground on September 10th at Utah Valley University when Charlie was shot. Now, the NSA knows this. Kash Patel knows this. People in the current administration know this, and they are desperate for some reason to stop that information from being released to the public. Why? Because they're the most transparent administration ever? Is that why? Is this like Jeffrey Epstein transparency that we're getting? Because that's what it feels like. It always seems that on the topic of this one nation that's only the size of New Jersey and has done nothing wrong ever and was truly the greatest friend to Charlie right up until the very end, never put any pressure on him, suddenly everybody abandoned their values.
You know, I hate the fact that I have to constantly hear that the size of Israel is the size of my home state of New Jersey. I also love hearing the "we did nothing wrong," and of course, leave that to Randy Fine, who says we've been kicked out of 109 countries and we never did a thing wrong for that to happen. Like our good friend Rothbone likes to say, the Zio state is going through a speed run into irrelevance as we speak.
True friends of Charlie Kirk, right? Standing on that stage, giving him a speech, hiding this. Now, what would be the reason that they wanted to keep that information under wraps? And why does it have people at the very top spooked? If there's nothing to hide, then there's nothing to hide. Now, let's play devil's advocate. And to be clear, we are now advocating for the devil when we do this. Maybe the cell phones belonged to some exchange students. It's possible. Maybe 12 Israelis were touring UVU on that day because, I don't know, Utah Valley University is a place where they maybe wanted to attend in the future. Maybe 12 American students had Israeli-based cell phones because they had just come back from a summer abroad program and they wanted to keep their Israeli cell phones running when they got back home to Utah. I don't know, but I'd like to know.
I like Candace's smug attitude. Let's get a few more likes, ladies and gentlemen, if we can. We have over 800 people watching. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 likes before the stream ends tonight. I got to tell you, it's kind of liberating when you just say what needs to be said without having to live in fear. Living in fear is a very sad existence. But perhaps for many of us, we are coming to that realization. And kind of like with Ben Shapiro, the reason he's losing is because there are now too many people that have nothing to lose and they're willing to fight. And when you're up against that, you're not going to beat them. History has shown repeatedly that those that have the courage to say what needs to be said, and as has been said before, speaking the truth in a revolution, sometimes speaking the truth is a revolutionary act. This is also why when the likes of Tucker, Candace, and Fuentes are saying the word revolution, that's powerful. And part of the reason why this is going as far as it's going is because they clearly know more than we do about the direction our country's going in. And the reason they fear, the Zion Nazis fear the populist right in a way that they do not fear the populist left is because the populist right is armed. And they are prepared to fight, fight, fight. Unlike the person who said it, but was just using it as a campaign slogan.
In fact, we need to know the answer to this question. Why are they hiding this information? And why and who did those 12 Israeli cell phones belong to? Okay? I don't like secrets. I don't like secrets, especially when they pertain to the public execution of my friend Charlie Kirk.
I tell you, she is fighting for Charlie in a way that no one else is fighting for him. including his wife. I'm going to keep pointing that out. And we'll get to that juxtaposition in a minute. But I think for many of you that have been following the media stories this week, Candace was invited to sit down with some lady named Ellie Reeve, I think is how you say her name. And for this interview, they decided that they were going to, or that she was going to try to corner Candace and make her fidget, or try to get her to say that, oh, you're equating the Jews. Again, this is the Zio's modus operandi. The equating of Judaism and Zionism is one and the same, which is not. They try, but they're failing. And here's what happened during that interview.
They is a word. So like, I don't need to always like say they. Like, it's just a weird, it's like, this is one of these psychology tactics where you're like, who is they? Who is they? And it's like,
because it sounds like you're saying Jews.
Does it really sound like that? One more time.
and it's like,
Because it sounds like you're saying Jews.
It's like, you're totally saying Jews, and that's like not cool. Really? So why are you doing that? Did she say that? Did she say Jews? Or did she say Zionists? Or Zio-Nazis? Or Zionist Jews? There is a difference between Zionists and anti-Zionists. Zionist Christians, anti-Zionist Christians. Zionist Jews, anti-Zionist Jews. There is a difference, you know. And this is a person who's trying to come off, even though she's coming off like a ditz, as a intellectual. I want to get this name right, because I know you guys are wondering who it is. The person in question, her name, I know I sent it. Okay, so her name is I get the L or Ellie Reeve is how you say her name. And she is apparently a contributor to CNN.
does the word they mean Jews?
When you're talking about Jews, yes.
But if I'm not talking about Jews, then they doesn't mean Jews. When I say they want us to believe this or they want us to believe that, and you hear Jews, that's your own derangement, right? If I want to say something about Jews, I'll say it. If I want to say something about Israel, I will say it. If I want to, just like when I want to say something about black people, I'll say it. When I was saying during BLM, they want us to believe, nobody said, do you mean Jews? And so again, it's one of these trash tactics to make people fearful to speak. If I want to say Jews, I will say Jews. I don't fear saying Jews. When I say Zionists run the media, I mean Zionists run the media.
But for somebody like Ellie Reeve and anyone else who's trying to defend this ideology, and let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, the more that the Zio billionaire class led by the Ellisons are going to continue to buy up the media networks, as I said, they are in the process of doing just that with CNN. This is going to get so much worse, so much more desperate. They don't know what to do. Why would you have Candace Owens on? Did you think this was going to go well for you by doing this? Did you think that you were somehow going to do a gotcha? I'll give Ben Shapiro this little amount of credit. I can't give him really any, but he's at least smart enough not to debate Nick Fuentes because he would get destroyed. Just like he wouldn't debate Candace, and he sure as hell wouldn't debate Tucker. That is the exact reason. If you cannot separate Zionism from Judaism, you get people like Ellie Reeve who like just want things to not be so mean. And why do you got to be a racist? Yeah, Beatrice, there is. It's called the end of capitalism. It's kind of the only way.
People that support the political ideology of Israel run the media. Any other things that I can help clarify?
But are you familiar with this like very long-standing trope?
Couldn't
that
give a
Jews
shit about a trope.
Couldn't give a shit about a trope, and neither can I. Do you think because you put somebody on who looks like this, that you're going to create some type of sympathy towards the Zio genocidal cause, rather than somebody like Shapiro or Mark Levin? No. People are aware of what the ideology is. And it's a non-starter for the overwhelming majority of people. But as we've pointed out, and will continue to point out, this is a class war, nothing more. Do not be fooled. Do not be lulled in to the trappings of what this system has become. Zionism has a lot to do with this. And as I've said, if Zoran is even half serious about canceling the city contracts with the state of Israel, oh boy. Like I said, he better mind his P's and Q's. He better hunker down. He better have Secret Service detail protecting him at all times, because they're going to come for him. They're going to try to take him out like Charlie was taken out. Guaranteed. If you really want to know where the line can't be crossed, it's with the money. That's it. Once you start fucking with capital, then you'll find out how far the people that control the capital are willing to go. And in this case, no, they can't kill us all, but they're going to try to start a war, a civil war, or a world war in order to scare people from ever doing anything. And always follow the money.